let's begin. Yes. With our first question tonight, I should have said at the beginning, I'm awfully sorry. When people's watching online, Heather will be asking some of the questions throughout the night that people have been submitting them online as well. Okay, so let's get to the question number one, and it's about independent living. So, yep.
When you hear, I'm stuck, hold on. All right, a second. I'm from the Assembly, and our question is, what will your party do about ending the non-residential care charges after the 2026 election?
Okay, so Maggie, yep.
Thank you very much for that question. So one of the many problems with non-residential care charges are that they are means tested. And the Scottish Greens do not believe that means testing offers fairness or equality, because too many people fall through the cracks of means testing, and the barriers or the thresholds that are used in means testing are fundamentally unfair, we believe. So we would get rid of them. That's one of our clear commitments. We think that they shouldn't exist. That will require a clear partnership process with COSLA, because it's the Convention on Scottish Local Authorities that supports the way in which these charges work across the 32 local authorities. And that's what we need. We need just to turn around and say, no, these things need to go. They are unfair. They create a burden on far too many people. And they're a burden not only because they're an unnecessary charge, but that means-tested element means that people fall just above the threshold for really no reason at all. And that threshold is in so many ways arbitrary. So because of that means-testing approach, we fundamentally disagree with these charges, and we would do whatever we can to get rid of them. It is our party's policy, my party's policy, to abolish non-residential care charges.
Oliver?
Yeah, and it's kind of a lot of agreement, I think, on this one, because Scottish Labour are fully committed. If we are able to form a government after the election in May, we will remove non-residential care charges. As Maggie has very eloquently outlined there, they are indefensible as a way of. We need to allow equity in this system. We need to allow people to access them regardless of their own means. And so absolutely, so the Scottish Labour are committed to removing them.
Okay, Carol, yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, I think when things are means tested like that, it can be very difficult for, that itself creates its own barrier for people applying. And trying to get getting the care that they need. So I certainly that is I think agreement here from all of us that that's something we definitely want to see, the abolition of charges.
And Daniel, surely it's a basic human right for people with disabilities?
I mean, absolutely. This is something that we'll definitely need to look at. I think I'm really glad to be here tonight and to be listening to people and hearing that lived experience, which is really important moving forward, and it's definitely something, obviously, to look at.
Okay, I'm sure the panel of us won't agree on every question tonight, but we'll see. So now, thanks for the first question. Now we open up to the floor. If anybody would like to respond to one or all of the panelists' answer, if you can raise your hand, please keep your contributing for under 2 minutes to make sure we have enough time. So, yeah. So if you want to raise your hand, yeah, somebody at the front. Heather.
Hello, thank you. I'm Heather. I'm the Chief Executive of Inclusion Scotland. So just to warm things up a bit, what I would really like to know is how are they going to do this? How are you going to end non-residential care charges, because I suspect that as we go through the evening, you will all recognise our human truth in the questions that we're going to pose to you. But I'd really like to get to the nub of how you are going to do this, because it's not easy.
Daniel, do you want?
As I said, this is something that we definitely need to look at. You know, I think from politicians, sometimes they try to give an answer, and right now, I think this is definitely something that we can look at. But I'm not gonna blabber on for 2 minutes and not give a straight answer. So, but yeah, this is definitely something we should look at.
Anyone else want to take that, or? Maggie?
Thanks, Heather. And I think you're absolutely right. The how is in some ways it's quite tricky, but in some ways it isn't. If the Scottish Government, whoever makes up the Scottish Government through pressure from the Greens or because they determine it to be the right thing to do, they can ensure that the COSLA agreement removes those charges, and that requires additional funding. And that is why the Scottish Greens have been pushing so hard to ensure we maximise the income generation we can for not only the Scottish Government, but for local authorities as well. So I think because this is currently a means-tested benefit, it actually costs quite a lot to administer. If we scrap it, we save that means testing costs that can be put towards supporting disabled people in other ways. So I think there's, you know, it's not just a wholesale transfer of budget from one line to another. We actually save something by not going through the means testing process. Means testing doesn't work. We know people fall through the cracks. That's why we believe in universal benefits.
And what, Daniel? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Go on, no, please.
So yeah, I think the how is incredibly important. I think one thing that we absolutely need to make sure is that we're ensuring the central government settlements to councils is adequate and that there is good money there, because there is not, and councils are massively underfunded, and it's things like this that are the sort of front line of that, and really the real impact of that for people. And I think what we also need to be really clear about is that we're doing it in a safe and secure way, because if a council is suddenly told that this is the situation and these charges are gone, sometimes we see people being moved into other for areas of care or services being withdrawn completely because people can't afford to deliver them in the effective way they want. So what we don't want to do is to end up, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul, because we're saying there are no funding, and therefore no one will put those services in, because they can't afford to deliver them in the way. So we need to make sure. So I think it will be about taking time, it's about doing it right, and it'll be about including the voices of disabled people's organisations in how we do this. But I think fundamentally it's about how much we're funding our councils, and we are massively underfunding our councils at the moment. And that's something a Labour government would want to be really addressing.
Daniel?
No, I mean, obviously when we say a lot of these things, and I think the how is actually really, really important, and obviously I'd want to ask my Green counterpart how we are going to fund all of this, because I think it is really important part of the how. So I don't know if I can pose questions, but I think that is a really important component of what we're talking about here.
Karen?
Yeah, I think following on from what Oliver was saying, we've come to nearly 20 years of Scotland's councils being chronically underfunded. And it's actually a miracle that all our 32 councils are still kind of going with all the statutory responsibilities they have. So it's really important that funding settlement comes through, that they finally get enough money to deliver the services that they need to deliver. And that includes not just this issue, but also paying and recruiting more care workers. I know that we are wanting to pay care workers more because there's a chronic shortage. We're talking about 65% of care at home providers and 65% of, almost 2/3 of care providers in any setting can't get the staff. And that's because of low pay, and it's because of kind of no career progression. So we have been fighting through this Parliament to get more money in budgets for things like a pipeline to train people through the colleges, and to ensure that there's money for care workers to get the real living wage. But it's, again, it's about that local funding that's so important.
Okay, thanks.